Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good. We understand that shopping is a necessity, and with a slight adjustment, you can make a huge difference for those in need. Here's how it works. Visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any partner that resonates with you. Click a picture of your receipt or invoice. Pick a mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send a receipt to us. Then all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchase, knowing you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing your story with those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Hey everybody, it's the beginning of a new week, brand new Monday. I'm sitting here with Patrick. We are Footprints Forward. Our mission is to talk to people about issues that they've had, explain to you and everyone out there that there are so many other people who have had different difficulties, and talk about the things that they have done to find their way out of it. Today we have a very, very interesting show because Deb McPhee has one of the more, I'll just say, tragic, really scary stories that from her beginnings to where she is now, which is, in my mind, a complete and total hero trying to help out other people in the community who are in difficult situations. We'll be bringing Deb on in just a minute. Patrick, how are you doing, my friend?
Brother, I'm doing great.
It's good to hear. Why don't you go on ahead and give us your introduction, and then we'll get on to Deb, and this is going to be an amazing show.
I'm looking forward to it for sure. My name is Patrick Myers. I'm the founder of a Call Edge Global. And we do several different things. One of the main things is that our company tries to connect the community together. Our resources, our time, our efforts, our ingenuities, different things like that. We try to connect the faith-based community together so that we support each other, where we don't have to actually get grants and different things like that. We support each other by giving to each other. And so that is the kind of the basis of a Call Edge Global, where we are doing this on a global scale. And then one of the things that I do locally here is the youth initiative, and here in White House, Tennessee, which is the base operations, but what we do is provide youth with the tools that they need to be able to impact their communities right now, right where they're at, from the ages of 16 to 21. And so we don't tell them, hey, this is what you need to be doing. We go, hey, what are your ideas, and how can we get behind you and partner with you to help you accomplish that idea? And so the way we do that is we train them in asset-based community relations, our community development. Another thing that we do is stuff like mind mapping, vision casting, several different things like that. And then also like helping them find out what their identity is. And it's faith-based, so what their identity is in Christ. And then also we do several different podcasts. We have a men's podcast. We have a couples podcast that we do. The men's podcast is called I'm sorry, it's been a rough weekend. So for the love of God, man, I can't remember but the couples one is the Chronicles of Pat and I. Oh, the Pit Men's Ministry podcast is the men's one, and then we have a new one that's being launched called Forged in Fire. Or Forged, yeah, not Forged in Fire. Um, Voices in the Fire. And so that's about it right now.
Well, I know one of the most important things that you're doing, and especially with kids, is you're allowing kids to be themselves and come up with the ideas on how they want to help people in the community. I know that they've got a mission to help out people who are elderly right now, and that was their idea to do it. It wasn't even at your direction. This was something that was important to them, and you're allowing them to do what they feel they need to do, right?
Yeah, most definitely. They needed the need was there, and you just that's pretty much anything about serving or doing anything community. You see a need, then when you see that need, you do something about it. Most of the world sees a need, and we go, "Oh, it's not my problem," and that's not the truth. So,
yeah. Well, we do have our guest who's going to be joining us in just 1 second. Right above Patrick's head, you'll see a QR code. That QR code is how you can come onto this show and tell your story. Tell us about what has happened to you. What experiences have you had in victory, in loss, in whatever you want. If it has to do with mental health and suicide or just very difficult situations, what you've done to overcome. Come on and tell us. Once again, you can use the QR code or you can contact us at communitypayitforward.us/footprintsforward. Actually, that's the website. You can't contact us at the website. But anyway, that's the website. You can contact us on via email at footprints@communitypayitforward.us. Once again, that's footprints@communitypayitforward.us. Footprints Forward. Our mission is providing resources and sharing stories to support mental health and suicide prevention in a forward direction. I met this next lady when we were in Denver, and we were in a class together for a couple days, and she told her story first, and it immediately caught my attention. And then I got to tell my story, and it caught her attention, which actually worked out really well. We couldn't actually connect with each other for like 3 or 4 sessions. We kept trying to get in on like the tail end of the conversations, little huddles. But by that time, they're sitting there with the gavel telling everybody, sit down, let's get going. Okay, so it wasn't like that, but but when we finally were able to get together and talk, it was amazing. And it led to this. And I am extremely thrilled to bring you from Chicago in Phoenix, Miss Deb McPhee. How you doing, Deb?
Fine, great. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Hey, that's not a problem. Your story was just something that when you told me, I was like, and I even told you in our pre-interview, I said, this sounds like a TV episode. It's the you seriously couldn't write it and make it more impactful than what happened to you.
Right.
So, but like we like to do, I'm going to ask you to go on ahead and tell your story, but then we're going to talk about what you've done with that. And then you've got a very, very special offer to provide to anyone who supports Community Pay It Forward or our partners that we're going to announce later on in the show that it's only a couple minutes old, as a matter of fact. So this is great. But Deb, please tell us your story.
Okay. Well, my story it's happened to me 20 years ago, but I was a victim of a violent crime. Now, how this turned about, I was a single mom. I've got 3 girls. So I was a single mom. I was divorced at 32. I raised my kids alone. By the time I was 40, I got married again. Okay, I thought I waited enough time and made a right choice. I lived with this second husband of mine for weeks, 10, 12 weeks. He crossed the line with my 13-year-old daughter. So I did what any mother bear would do. You change the locks, order protection. I had him arrested, filed for divorce, check, check, check. And while I was going down my list, checking things off, trying to get my house in order, he was spinning out of control. Because what we know now that we didn't know 20 years ago is when abusers understand that they no longer can control you, that's when they come to kill you. All right. Let me see. 3 women a day in the United States are killed by intimate partner violence. 3 a day. All right. So when an abuser understands that he no longer can control you, you won't listen to him or do what he says, nothing left to do, you're gone. So this man went into the west side of Chicago and hired 2 drug dealers and gave him my address and gave him my schedule and everything. So while I thought I was trying to get my life in order after this bad thing that happened to one of my daughters, he sent 2 people to my house, and they walked right in and they took me at knife point. So I was kidnapped. I was with, after they picked me up, they went and picked him up. So I was with all 3 of them for over 6 hours, and I escaped. I got a hold of the car keys and I stole their car and I drove myself to the police station. Now I walk into the police station with the keys. Here's the keys to the car I just stole today. And they didn't believe me, because very often police don't believe the victim. They thought I made the whole thing up in retaliation to what he did to my daughter. So the day after the kidnapping, I had to go to the hospital and take a trauma test, and I tested out in the highest category that a human could be traumatized. And so that's where we start, the day after all this bad stuff happened. So I had to, we had to pack up, we had to leave. We couldn't, they wouldn't go arrest him. It was a Friday afternoon. Then they said, well, we'll go get him on Monday if you want. I'm like, well, that's great. How do I keep everyone alive over the weekend? So we had to, under police escort, we had to go back to the house and pack everything up. And then the 3 of us had to go into hiding. I also had one kid downtown at Loyola. So she had to pack a bag and go someplace else also. So nobody could find us over the weekend. And then that Monday, my mom and brother and I went back to the police station and made a formal report. And then they went and arrested him that Monday. So in a nutshell.
That is just, that right there, Deb, to me, is one of the things that I just don't understand. There is no excuse for a delay. One thing, even if it is retribution, he did something to your daughter. They ought to be happy that this retribution was you coming to them, not taking it on your own.
Right.
And, first off, what he did to your daughter is enough of a crime. Why wasn't he picked up for that?
He was arrested and released. They don't keep you, they arrest you. And so he was awaiting. So then I filed for divorce. So after that, now I lost my job. I had a great job with a Chicago pharmaceutical company, and they stole my company car. So I had to go and explain, I had a lunch and learn. I was a pharmaceutical rep. So I had 15 doctors at a restaurant waiting for me to show up and pay for lunch and do my presentation for work. And I showed 15 doctors. I mean, it was bad on every level. So they went, so after this, so I got fired from my job. So now I'm just like, all right, I'm suffering consequences from somebody else's inappropriate behavior, right? I got fired. So, and I had to move, and that cost money, and I didn't have a job, and now I had to move. I had 3 cars. I had my car. I had the 2 kids in high school shared a car, and the kid in college had a car. So I had to sell 3 cars and buy 3 more cars. I mean, just everything we had to do to keep safe all falls on the victim. All in all, it cost me over $100,000. I had to sell 3 cars, buy new cars. I had to move. Everything that we did. I lost my job. I was out of work for a long time. It took me 3 years to put him in jail. I went to court 3 times a month, once for divorce, once for pedophile, and once for the kidnapping. So, I mean, where do you work anywhere and take 3 days of work a month off? I mean, that was like literally, so I fortunately had some savings back then. And my mom says, oh, you're saving that money for a rainy day. Guess what? It's raining. But think of all the women of domestic violence victims that don't have any money, that don't have the means to go buy 3 cars and sell 3, right? So
Yep.
this is where the victims come and the shelters come. Everybody's, oh, you didn't go to a shelter. No, well, I had a job and I had money, so I just rented a house and moved. So, but there are a lot of women can't do that. A lot of women are financially dependent on their husbands, and when something like this happens, they have nothing and nowhere to go, and that's how they end up in women's shelters.
Or going back to the abusive relationship.
Or going back because they don't feel like they have a way out. So since that day, part of my recovery, everybody laughs and says, how come you don't have a PhD? Because I spent $100,000 on therapy. I went to therapy for 10 years, $10,000 a year for 10 years, my deductible, I guess. So, but I really worked hard at getting better. I really just had to make some life changes and make sure I didn't make decisions like this and make sure my kids were all in counseling. So the therapy and the getting better part of this took years. He ultimately went to jail for 10 years and we never found the other 2 guys. So, great. He went to jail for 10 years. We went to therapy for 10 years, so, but you really had to work hard. So I became a domestic violence advocate then. So I started working with police stations. All the police wanted to know, how did you not die? 3 women a day die. What did you do different that you didn't die? All right. I think I had, even the judge says, you're smarter than 3 thugs with knives is the only reason you got away. All right. So I was constantly, if they do this, I'm going to do that. I'm calculating. If they do this, I'm doing that. If they do this, I'm doing that. And then when I saw the car keys on the dresser, it's like, oh, of course. All right. That's my out. So that was that. So I became a domestic violence advocate. I became a sexual assault, a crisis intervention, crisis counselor. So I've been doing all that as a volunteer for 20 years while I had my day job. And then when 2020 came around, in 2021, the state of Illinois mandated all employees have 1 hour sexual harassment prevention training. So I called the state, I called the Capitol, and I said, what do you have to do to get a license to do this? I think I'm qualified. And they're like, oh my God, everybody needs this and nobody's qualified to teach it. So with just a perfect storm of education and qualifications and certifications, I was already ready to go. So made a company, and that's what I do. I've been doing it for 2 years now.
Deb, you also had problems with a boss once before. That you and I discussed.
Right. Okay. So after the kidnapping, of course, you're vulnerable. You're trying to get your life back in order. I got another sales job with another company, and now this is where bullies pick on people who are weak. And was I a little vulnerable after just recovering from a kidnapping? I was. So I had a boss that didn't really respect me, kept like, oh, everyone meet for dinner, and we'd get to the restaurant and it would be him and me at a little table for 2. I'm like, well, where is everybody? Oh, they couldn't make it. All 10 of them? I mean, it was just weird stuff. And then finally, when he said to me, he says, well, I think I'm going to fire you. I'm going to put you on probation. You better come to my house tomorrow. We're going to figure this out. I'm like, well, your wife's out of town. I'm not going to your house. That's no. So as promised, I was fired on Monday. So it's like, all right, so not only have I a victim of domestic violence, now I'm a victim of sexual assault, and I got fired from that job. So
what he's obviously out of prison now.
Yeah,
do you ever worry that there's going to be retribution to you or your kids?
Once in a while it crosses my mind. There's really been no contact in years. So I'm pretty confident. I have a liaison in Springfield, a sergeant with the police, that every time he gets moved or transferred anywhere, I always know where he is. So,
yeah, it's just amazing. Patrick, you're on mute, brother.
Yeah,
that's quite the journey and the odyssey,
right.
And man, sorry you went through all that. Like, that's absolutely crazy. But then, like, you can see, like, how all that circumstance is still forging you into something new, greater.
Mm-hmm.
That always intrigues me, like how some people just are able to forge and come through things, and then like it be the thing that actually saves and helps so many other people.
Um, there's, when you're a victim, it's, oh, poor me, I'm a victim. And then you wake up one morning and it's like, oh, I'm a survivor. And you see this a lot with cancer survivors. I'm a survivor, and they get the wing tattoo, and I'm a survivor. And then there's a third level that not too many people get to. Everyone's pretty comfortable being a survivor. But the third level, that transcendence, when you get up and then you go back and you teach and coach and train and make sure it doesn't happen to other women. I was on the phone for 2 hours today with one of my domestic violence women. She was going to go to court, and she was scared to meet her husband. I said, don't look at him. He can't intimidate you. He's not allowed to talk to you, but he can't intimidate you unless you look at him and let him. Don't look at him. Put on a nice outfit, look like $1 million, and waltz into court and get what you get, right? So, there's a lot of phone calls like that with the women's, the women that I work with. But it's just like when you turn around and you go back and you volunteer, or you help, or you train, or you teach. I have a twofold thing. It's like I never take women. I never take money from women. I'm an independent domestic violence advocate. And could you just imagine somebody calling me, oh, my life is falling apart. Oh yeah, give me $100, I'll help. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I never take money from people in crisis. I get my money from the business owners because they have to have the training for their employees, and that's fine. But everything else is a volunteer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, we're going to be discussing that here in a little bit. But what, and this is a little difficult for people to hear, but when was it that you saw your opportunity to get out of this situation? And I love the way that you talk about when you made the decision that you were going to act.
Okay. Well, first of all, we took a car ride, and we were on the tollway going out, and they were fighting. I was restrained in the back seat by a big man, and in the front seat, the two guys in the front seat were fighting. One guy wanted to leave me in the cornfields and stab me and let me bleed out, and the other guy said I should go in the dumpster behind the gas station in town, because the birds would find me if I was in the cornfield. And they were kind of bickering, and I'm like, oh my God, they don't have control. They didn't think this through. So I'm like, well, if they don't have control in this car, who has control? Me. I am not dying today. And that was like a light bulb went off in my head. I said, that's it. I'm not dying today. I am smarter than these idiots that can't figure out where to leave a body. So as it was, and how I got the keys, I don't say this part too much, but I was being raped. And then someone said, oh, how'd you do when they were raping you? Well, when they were raping me, they weren't hitting me. It gave me time to think, So that's when I saw the keys that were on the dresser. It's like, oh, okay, I'm out of here. So,
And is that one of the things in which I know that this is very, very difficult to talk to, to someone about a victim about, or a survivor? I prefer survivor over victim. But was that, how do you convince, or how do you teach someone that, if that's happening to you, you've got to be able to leave your body.
You got to get out of your head.
Mind open. Yeah.
I always say it like this, and I'm not talking about all men, so I apologize in advance. I'm like, as women, we all know how to lay there for 2 minutes and get it over with. Get out of your head. Think about what you're going to do next. How are you going to get out of the room? How are you going to get away? So,
yeah.
Rape is not about sex. Rape is about power. It's about making you do something you don't want to do.
And yeah, what? Let's. Patrick, did you have anything else? I'm sorry, brother.
No. I'm listening.
Okay. So, what were your? What was the first step that you decided? Okay, I've got this experience. You know what? Others need to hear this experience. I'm not going to sit back and watch others suffer in a situation they don't have to. I can say something. I can be the power they need me to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, that all came from volunteering and working with, the crisis center. I answer the phone. I'm the first point of contact when people are calling in crisis. I'm the one that decides, do they have a bed? Do I have a bed for them? Are they lying? Do they deserve a bed? Are they, there's a whole checklist that we go through when you answer the hotline phone. But in 2014, after therapy and all that, I wrote a book. I wrote a chapter of a book outlining my experience. And so it sure was, one night, what are you going to do next? Therapy was coming to an end. I was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So I opened a Word doc and just started writing, right? So closed the Word doc, never thought twice about it. A week later, I get an acceptance letter from DePaul University. So in my writing and getting everything out, I applied for college. So what do I want to do? I wanted to go to college. I was 49 years old. This happened to me when I was 41. And then when I was 49, I started college as a freshman. I got my master's degree when I was 58. So that was all preparing for what I'm going to do now. It's like, you have to have some credentials. You have to write a book. You have to go back and say, I'm educated. I have experience. I have education and knowledge about this subject, and I can speak as an expert. Mm-hmm. So
you really focus on the mandatory classes in which, you saying that they're mandatory is not saying that they're not important. These are very, very important classes for every employer to offer, aren't they?
Right. So I started this company 2 years ago, and it was just me running around Chicago, just Deb running around Chicago. And I'm going to read the list of the states. Mandated training is in California, Connecticut, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, Washington, and a lot of New York. So if you live in one of those states and you're a business owner, it's mandated that you train your employees once a year. All right. What happened to me is that, there's my website. Okay. So what happened is I started getting calls from people all over the country. Even in states where it's not mandated, business owners say, hey, I want my team to have this training. Okay. That was, that's Dr. G and her team. Her team was all over Illinois, and they were all in one building for a meeting. So I just went to the building they were. We did the training right in the lobby. That's us doing the training right there. Mm-hmm. So whether it's mandated or not, if you're a business owner, and a lot of people do it online too, and that's the one that say, we do ours online. Well, I'm an advocate for in-person training by somebody with experience like me, because there's always lots of questions. And I offer a year of support with my training as well. And I get phone calls from women all the time. Hey, this happened at work today. Should I be concerned? Okay, it's not a big deal, but here's how you can prevent it next time. So between that, and I run a group on Wednesday night, a women's only group that anyone can hop on and ask any questions they want.
Let me ask you this, with what you just were talking about, when women will call you and say, hey, this happened to me today. Should I watch out for this? What are some of the things that women don't think that they should really watch? It's like, this happened. It's, but it's really something that you need to kind of keep an eye on.
Right. A lot of women don't want to cause trouble. They don't want to get fired. If you go back to that picture right there, that was me doing a class that we did about, those people all needed license. They needed the class to renew their license. And so we just did about 400 of them all at once, all in 1 hour. That's me right there. Okay. So a lot of women, number one, think they're going to get fired. They think that they're going to get in trouble. They don't want to make waves at work. Women were historically, especially older women, we were told, be quiet. You don't cause trouble at work. Smile. Be quiet. Smile. Don't cause trouble. Okay, well, you don't have to be cordial to somebody that's being mean to you or bullying you or being disrespectful to you. Now, the young women get it. Every generation of young women that enters the workforce, every June, we get a whole slew of young women, brand new, entering the workforce. These young women were raised, okay, like I'm in my 60s. So my mom was the first woman in our family to go to work, but she raised me, right? But I raised my kids. My kids are stronger than me. But okay, so you take these 20-year-olds, 23-year-olds that are entering the workforce today, and they were raised by stronger women, and they were taught they're more willing, they're less tolerant of unacceptable behavior and more willing to make a formal claim. And once somebody calls and makes a claim to the EEOC, once you're in the computer, they're going to sue you, and it gets very expensive very fast. So you really want to train your team what to do to head it off at the pass so it doesn't get to the point where you need to hire a lawyer if you're a business owner.
What do you suggest that other than talking to you, of course, what do you suggest that business owners do first if they've got even a single complaint?
Well, if the complaint is already in the system, first thing you have to lawyer up. That's, you're in it now. You're gonna because the state, I don't know about all states, but some states will send investigators to your business to interview you and your employees and your customers and your neighbors. And then as soon as it hits the Facebook group of whatever town you live in, you're going to lose 40% of business. I mean, it just gets real bad real fast. You don't, so once if you have a complaint, you need a lawyer real fast. But if you can train your team ahead of time, you want to be the kind of boss that your team's going to come to you with their problems. Because this is what's going to happen. It's never, people think that I'm going to help the women report the boss. And that's absolutely the opposite. The boss, the owner, the business owner is my customer. I protect the business customer. I'm an advocate for the business owner. All right. And business owners usually protect what they have. If they have a business license or a company, they don't want trouble. They're not the ones misbehaving. It's usually the customers that are bothering the young women that work there. And the young women don't want to cause trouble, and they don't want to tell the boss, and they don't want to do anything. So they go home, they drink a glass of wine, they get on Facebook. And who's on Facebook? All those angry Me Too ladies. Call the EEOC. Here's the website. And next thing you know, she files a claim against the customer that's grabbing her butt. And then the business owner walks in the next day thinking everything's fine, and he's got a claim. That could have all been avoided. Be the kind of boss where they can come to you with all the problems. OSHA says if you're a business owner, the first thing you have to do is provide a safe place to work. Yeah. So, all right. So especially if you have young women, I had a real awful case. It was a doctor's office in Chicago, and they all walked out together and walked out to their cars together because the doctor says that's safe. I'm going to walk everybody out to the car, and they all left as a group. So they clean up, and they were all in the waiting room waiting to leave. And they're like, what's her name? The little 23-year-old. Where is she? Oh, she took out the trash. This poor girl was getting sexually assaulted in the alley. There was a big cement wall around the trash container, and she was in there getting sexually assaulted. And, so nobody empties trash alone, especially if you're in a big city. One person stands by the door, holds the phone, okay, run out, and then the other one runs the bag to the bin. So nobody goes out in the alleys. I don't care if it's 2:00 in the afternoon. You don't go alone. People that get sexually assaulted, very seldom is it random. You're being stalked and watched. That guy that assaulted her worked 2 doors down in the strip mall, and he knew that she was by the garbage every day by herself at 10 after 5. He knew this. Okay. Opportunity.
It's yeah, Patrick.
No, so I was I'm actually I just really wanted to listen and maybe understand a little bit more about what it is that you do before I had any questions or spoke about anything. And I find it really interesting that throughout all this, like, you are an advocate for the business owners and what's going on. And then you said something really important about like the whole B2 movement and whatnot, where I've personally seen an experience where like sometimes uh, it just has to be it only has to be said. It doesn't have to be true. And it'll completely blow up your life or different things like that. And so like where you're actually giving strategies on how to actually, and how to actually deal with that. And then also the process of that you have of like vetting stories and different things like that. Like I thought that was very, very responsible about the what's happening with people, because to be honest, I deal with a lot of different women and teenagers and different things like that, and I think it's um um like now it's like 3 out of 5, probably closer to 4 out of 5 women. Well, it's not even women anymore. Actually, it's just teenagers. Period. It's just the statistics are really insane. Have experienced some kind of sexual assault or something like that in their lifetime.
Right.
And so I don't know. I was really impressed with how you were saying that there is a process of vetting to see if even if things are true, because uh, sometimes that sometimes that can be a blind spot in advocacy. Because it happened to you, you want to believe it's happening to everybody else, but some people are just angry and bitter and say crazy things because they can, or they believe it, or different things like that, or you know, maybe there's more to the story that you need to find out before something happens. And so I just thought that was very, very, that makes me a lot more interested to understand what you're doing and know what you're doing, and even be like, okay, let me refer somebody to this person for this. So I really, really am very intrigued by the process of it. My question would be, when was the point where this all just clicked and you were like, this is what I'm going to do now? Like, what was the catalyst for this?
Well, I did it. I've been doing it for free for 20 years, because that's when I became a advocate and all that. So I've always volunteered. But with the Me Too movement a couple of years ago, all the states are mandating the training for employees. And I also am licensed by the state of Illinois to give CE classes. Anybody that holds a license, the doctors, the lawyers, the nurses, the dental hygienists, they all have to have 1 CE hour to renew their license. So I'm licensed to give the CE. My company can give CEs, the continuing education credit, the CE credit.
Yeah.
So that was the catalyst. It's like, 2020, I was a medical rep. We were not allowed, they didn't let the reps go office to office in 2020 because we were bringing the germs from one office to the next. So all the reps were home with nothing to do. So it was COVID. It's like, wow, this is mandated now. Let's call and see if I can have a license. What do I have to do this? So I retired from my corporate position and opened a company. So
I wanted to go ahead and bring this up real quick. You have got, and I'm going to share the page again. Yeah, I just want to spotlight some of this. And this is one that I am very, very familiar with. But sexual harassment prevention for workers in restaurants and bars. This right here is one that, blame it on the way that bars are set up. You always have the very, very attractive little girls in the clothing and, playing a role. And, it puts them in a very difficult position. So it's great to see that you got this here. Domestic violence awareness, City of Chicago bystander training, mandated reporter, the different types of harassment, HR staff and team lead, when violence comes to work, that one would be very intriguing.
That's what I give often. That's just outlining there's 4 different types of violence, and what do you do? This is when the crazy ex-boyfriend walks into the office with a gun and starts shooting people. You have deaths because of, so if one of your employees puts out a restraining order on the husband or the boyfriend, you're going to want to know about that.
Right.
And is he stalking the office? Can she safely walk to her car? And if there is trouble, you can, if ever you have trouble, you can always call the police and say, okay, can a squad pull up in front of my office at 10 after 5? We're all going to leave. And that way a squad pulls up and everybody can leave and get in their cars and drive away. And as the business owner, you want to stand and make sure all those women get off your property, get in the car and leave the premises safely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sexual harassment prevention training.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real big one for you, is it not?
That's the one that I do most, the sexual harassment prevention training. And that includes, and that is a CE hour. If you need a CE, I can give it in Illinois, or if you're not in Illinois, you can take it and see if it works in your state. Mm-hmm.
Okay, in Illinois department, but you've also listed off other departments that you're registered in.
Mm-hmm. That's where, the Department of Professional Regulations. That's the department that everybody that gets their license in Illinois gets it from that department. So me, the doctors, the lawyers, and we all need. It's funny, I need it too to renew my license. Everybody needs an hour of sexual harassment prevention training to renew their license. Mm-hmm.
Deb, what do guys need to do to stay out of trouble?
Oh, well, if you wouldn't say it to your mother, don't say it to anyone at work. That's number 1. All right. Guys think that they're real familiar because they're just at the lunch table telling dirty jokes. And well, she's not saying anything. But then if you hear her side of the story, oh my God, you should have heard the lunch table today. I couldn't stand it. So if you wouldn't say it in front of your mother, don't say it in front of a woman at work. That's number 1. Look out for somebody. If you're at Home Depot or the grocery store and you're in the parking lot and you see a mother with 2 babies trying to load the car, are you going to get in the car and drive away? Or just kind of sit and wait a second and make sure she gets in her car and gets the door locked with 2 babies in the bags and all that. So it takes a village. You're watching somebody else's family, and hopefully somebody else's family is watching your wife and daughter do the same thing. And not creepy, not like stalking them, but if you are noticing somebody alone in a parking lot, you're going to make sure they get in their car okay and get the doors locked.
I would even like to add to that. If you see a mom and a couple of kids walking around the store and you see someone following them,
absolutely,
keep your eye on them, because you know what? When it comes to trafficking, that's one of the traps. That's one of the traps. They find somebody who's distracted, and a mom with 2 kids, a mom with 1 kid.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be a little distracted. They're not going to be paying attention to what's going on. And these people follow you around stores. They'll follow you forever. They've got nothing else to do but ensnare people. Mm-hmm. So please, if you see somebody being a little creepy, stalky, say something about it. Say something to someone in the store. Hey, can you guys please kind of watch out for this person? Don't put yourself in a bad situation. Don't ever put yourself in a situation where you don't feel comfortable. There's no reason to get yourself into a situation where you're going to get hurt if you don't physically think that you can do that.
Right. So
that's not what we're going to ask you to do, but please make sure you tell someone.
Tell somebody. And back to the business owners. I was in a business owner's office, private office, and the door was shut, and I'm looking around. There were no cameras. I said, do you bring young women in this room? Oh yeah. For meetings? With the door shut, there's no cameras. So never, if you're a male, you don't ever go in a room and shut the door with a young female employee. Don't bring them in your private office. Put cameras all over, lunchroom, front office, waiting room, storefront, front door, whatever your business is. But you want cameras all over. You don't ever want to put yourself alone. You never want to be in a storeroom or the back room or the basement or whatever alone with a female, especially the young women. You just don't put yourself in the situation.
Yeah.
Going ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, that one is something that's wise, and I think that's something that goes beyond the workplace and just in just men in general, is to have boundaries set. That's something that I had to learn over time, and I see a lot of men, especially in uh, the religious sector and stuff like that, that there's not those boundaries and things set in place where I think a lot of what you're saying applies to those contexts also, just to protect yourself, to protect perception, different things like that, because um, it, it protects both people. That, which is really what's the important part of it. It's not about it's not just about, because even when you said it, you said you came into the room and because of what your experience is, you're thinking like, how does it affect not just them, but how it affects you as a woman being in that space, right?
Or no cameras. I said, you need, especially if you have a private office, you want a camera, and it doesn't have to have audio. Nobody's going to listen to your phone calls, but you want the camera just rolling in the background, because there are these laws are also having a new breed of criminal. These women are placing themselves in your business as an employee or a customer, and they're instigating inappropriate behavior. And when it's reciprocated, boom, file. All right, because they know you're not going to go to court for 5 years. They know you're going to write a quick check for $20,000 to make them go away. All right.
It's, we take, Deb, and when it comes time, well, the first thing that we do is we run our organization to where we give out free clothing, free housewares and stuff like that. We always insist that my wife and I are both here when that happens, one, and we insist that they bring someone, an adult, with them.
Right. We
want to make sure that everybody's got someone. And we also tell people that, when it comes to, like, if we do an adopt a family or something, make sure that there's this contactless or no contact thing that goes on. If they drop it at your house, whatever. But I always tell people, meet them in a public place and never, ever, ever meet someone alone.
Right. Right. That goes for if you sell something on the internet.
Yeah.
Always go to the parking lot of the police station, because there's cameras all around.
Yeah, that's a great place to do it, is right there in front of the police station.
Right.
I've never suggested that, and I don't know why. Well, that's the reason why we got smarter people here than me. So, Deb, you have offered a fantastic offer to people who want to support Community Pay It Forward and what we do. Can you please tell people?
Okay. Well, next Wednesday, April 17th, 4:00 Colorado time, 5:00 Chicago time, I'm going to open a Zoom room, and we can have a training with questions afterwards, if anybody would like to hop on. And we'll do, you know what? We can do the when violence comes to work, I'll volunteer that. We can do that one for free, and then if they want to schedule a training after that, they can pay for it. But we can do with violence comes to work, and that's the initial thing that business owners need. It's like just outlines the 4 different types of violence that walks in your door, and what do you do if you are boss? What do you do? So we'll do that. We'll do free training next Wednesday, April 17th, 4:00 Colorado, 5:00 Central Time. When violence comes to work, that's a good program. And it just outlines the different types of violence, what it needs. And then if you're a business owner, if you want to continue on with the sexual harassment prevention training for your team, we can work from there.
So definitely, you know what? Hey, to all my nonprofit, to all my business friends, everybody who's following Patrick, you know what? Join Deb next Wednesday at 6:00 East, 6, 5, 4, and 3 for when violence comes to work, and then contact Deb for further training. And what's going to happen is for these trainings, Deb's going to give a percentage to the mission of your choice. So you get to take and hire Deb, and a portion of that is going to go to help out somebody who has asked us for help. And you get to do it by simply doing what you should do anyway as a responsible owner. Violence, and I hate saying this, violence, sexual violence, and just uncomfort is not a way to run a business. People should feel safe when they go to work. They shouldn't have to feel, this is a weird word for a big guy like me to say, they shouldn't have to feel icky. Okay?
Right. And especially the young one, if you're a grown man and you've got, 10, 15 young associates running around, you don't know them all personally. You're not eating lunch with them. They're not going to, oh, you're the boss. I'm not going to, they're not going to come to you and tell you their problems. You want to be the boss that can fix all their problems. Because anything that happens at work, oh, customer John, I don't like him. Great. You go over there, put a guy over there with customer John. It's an easy fix. A lot of my offices have a code word. Whatever the code word is, on the intercom, blah, 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 code word. Okay, all hands on deck. That person needs help. Just send another person over to stand with them, because people usually behave when there's two people.
Deb, I was watching a video the other day where the lady was taken and she was doing something like this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Universal sign for help. This is the universal sign for help. You see the thumb in, hands down. You see somebody doing this, they are in crisis. You intervene and help. Thumb in, hands down. We teach this to little 3-year-olds. Thumb in, hand down.
Yep. We were watching this thing the other day, and there was a girl doing that in a car. And I kind of disagreed with what the kids did by following the car a little too closely. But,
that's when you call for help immediately, because they are
call for help. Because, again, don't put yourself in a situation where you can get hurt. Look, if this person's already doing this to one person, who can tell what they're going to do to you? Okay. Stay safe, but intervene. We don't need to watch other people get hurt. I mean, life is what it is, and we need to be there for each other. If you want training, and everybody, again, should want some of this training, visit Deb at debmcpheecoaching.com is how you can get a hold of her via email. debmcpheecoaching.com. You can give her a call at 312-533-1994, 312-533-1994, and always visit her website at McPheecoaching.com, McPheecoaching.com. Deb, this has been fantastic. Patrick, I know that you have other things that you wanted to say.
Okay. And the link that I gave you before the show, that's the Zoom link. You can put that in the comments as well. Yep.
Okay. And this is for the free. This is going to be for the free meeting. Did you want the first one or the second?
It's the same one.
They're the same length. Okay. So this is for the free. And I'm going to put this in the chat right now. Okay. So it's clickable. This is for the free When Violence Comes to Work meeting next Wednesday, right? Wednesday?
Right.
Next Wednesday at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, 4 Mountain, 3 Pacific. So it is in it's going to be in the chat, but right there is the Zoom for it. And again, it's in the chat, so you can click it, always come back, and you can watch this again. We will be replaying this show on Tuesday night, so you can see this again. Okay. Of course, it's always played over at our friends on Things Network on Mondays. So, but Patrick, please.
No, I just wanted to just thank you for what you're doing. Man, I'm a kind of person that when I hear things like this, in my mind, I just see so many applications to it, for different people for different groups and different things like that. Like, man, I would love to see. I know you have a specific goal and purpose, right? So like, I'm not saying anything about that, but it would be some of the tools that you're offering would be amazing for youth groups and the young ladies and young people in the youth groups.
Right.
It would be good for a lot of the nonprofits that I work with that have staff and different things like that, where I'm hearing a lot of what you are applying to businesses, and I am like, why doesn't everybody actually have some type of training in this area? Because it's something that happens from almost every context I've been in one way, shape, or form. Like nonprofits, business, like you hear it, but you don't see anything actually being actively done about it, or safeguards being put in place, or like you said, like lack of knowledge and lack of training and understanding is always a detriment to the people that don't have it. And so, I don't know. I was just like, the first thing I thought about was like, man, how many young people could use some of the things that you were teaching and training,
Right.
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I would just like to maybe talk more to get a greater understanding of the totality of what you do, and I don't know, learn and educate a little bit more in this process that you got.
Okay.
I'll make sure that you have her information, Patrick.
I'm a guest speaker. If anybody ever needs me to speak on the topic, I can. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Once again, when violence comes to work next Wednesday, 1 week from today, 1 week from this Wednesday, okay, is going to be live on this Zoom that you see on the bottom of the screen right now. If you need this Zoom link, contact me. I can get you this Zoom link, okay? All you got to do is contact me, contact Deb, contact Patrick. He'll be able to get you this Zoom link.
Mm-hmm.
But come on and see what we're talking about. Protect yourself and protect others. Okay? Protect each other. And Deb, one of the things that I really wanted to say to you is I wanted to thank you for also protecting the other side, making sure that people do understand. Yes, we realize there are some twisted people out there running this game on people, and it's a terrible game, but it is true. And just
82% of women have said that they have experienced some sort of sexual harassment at work. That's not a few, that's most. And when I spoke to a group, there was about 500 people in the room, and I asked a question to the men only. Does anyone know a rapist? No one. No one knew a rapist. Then I asked the women, does anyone know that someone that's been raped? Everyone. So if all women know somebody that's been raped, why don't men know a rapist? So the men aren't thinking about this. The women think about it all the time.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's not about the sex, it's about the power.
The power.
And a lot of times men don't think about the power. They, they don't even realize what they do. I hate being nearsighted on that. But guys, look, I'll go old fashioned here. No means no, and protect yourself.
Right.
And how about this one? Okay. And we usually don't do a lot of potty mouth on this show, but stop doing stupid shit.
Okay.
How about that? Stop putting yourself in dangerous, stupid situations.
Mm-hmm.
We see all the time these guys putting themselves in dumb situations. You're like going, wow. So stop doing stupid stuff. God. Anyway, Deb, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your offer. We will be putting that out all over the website starting later on today. We will, I'm going to, unfortunately, Well, you know what? I may record this week's or next week's episode of the show and join you. I have a podcast that starts at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, but I may join you anyways. So just to check. But please make sure you join her next Wednesday, 6 Eastern, 4 Mountain, 3 Pacific, 5 Central. Deb, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll talk to you very soon.
Okay.
All right. Patrick, what did you learn today?
Oh man, I think it was just a very powerful story of, overcoming those kind of things and those kind of issues in your life. Just you don't understand a lot of time. I know we don't understand, especially as men, how much we need to have boundaries and hypervigilance in the things that we do and say and how we say them. The situation.
Oh, we lost Pat. Okay.
And then also, like, it's not like you said earlier, it's not just about protecting yourself, it's about protecting the people around you, because like sometimes you don't know the effect of the things the things that are happening around you, or something that you might say that might be taken into a context where the person is receiving it in an unfavorable way, right? Like you just don't know. And so like setting safeguards, practices, understanding, how things can be appropriate. Because sometimes you don't know. Like you don't know until someone goes, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable in this situation," and you're like, "Oh, shoot, that's not what my intention was," And so like the training is very, very important, especially for women, especially for businesses, especially for the men, like, um, because I do understand the whole picture of it. I understand it from the woman's point of view. I understand it from the male's point of view. I understand it from the women out there that are just hurt and or women or men that are just hurt and or have that are just hurt and might get angry and say things. I understand it from the point of how she was talking about how people running a scam just to get paid and whatnot. Like there's just so many different facets to one subject.
Yep.
And it's just so crazy. Like you don't know what you know until you know it.
That's
right. And so that's my takeaway from it. It's just like, how to empower more people with the knowledge of, because there's a lot of things that, and even in my past, I just didn't know. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh snap! Like now, I should have never put myself in this position. I should have never done that. I should have never said this or whatever. Or this is not like I might have this intention, but then like how it's received because men and women think differently. Like me and you can tell a joke and it would be like, a joke between us that's absolutely hilarious. You know what I mean? But then you put a woman in that mix and that joke becomes a whole nother problem. And you're just like, wait. That was not what was being relayed, but the sensitivity to those things. And so I'm I don't know. I just see the benefit of the tools of those trainings that she was talking about and how it can impact so much.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I really think that this training is going to be very beneficial for you and everyone out there. And this is a free offering to you from our guest, Deb McPhee. Please contact me later on, and I will get you the information. All you have to do is tell me that you want to know more about it,
and I'll send you all the information. And then remember, if you want further training, that will get you and your team trained on about all these things, the sexual harassment. Hey guys, we got to get out of here. I want to thank you all very much. Patrick, thank you for joining me. Thank you to our guest, Debbie, for joining us. Deb McPhee, again, wonderful, wonderful show. Very strong lady. Just so much. Deb McPhee.
She's a
coaching.
force, brother.
Yeah. Deb McPhee.
That woman is a force, brother.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
look, being able to do what she did, I'd want her on my team. That's all I know. So, but go to McPheeCoaching.com, McPheeCoaching.com, and you can contact her at 312-533-1994, 312-533-1994. Hey, everybody, we're done for this week. We'll see you next week back here on Community Pay It Forward's Footprints Forward. And I want to remind you all to please, if you have an extra hoodie in your home, you're not doing anything with it, put it in your car. Don't sell it in a garage sale and make a nickel. Give it to somebody who's struggling out there with the elements. If you've got extra food in your fridge, don't wait for it to spoil. Throw it in the old hillbilly Tupperware in an old butter bowl. Go give it to somebody battling hunger. We can all do things to make someone's life better. Let's come together. Let's work for each other. Let's make this a better place. My name is Zach Clayton. Make sure you love someone out there because someone out here loves you. We'll see you next week right here on Footprints Forward.